Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the Aliens and Angels podcast. Today, let me introduce you to a new guest, Tyler Scott. Tyler is the owner of the Lost Channel CE5 Research Center and is the host of the Copernicus show. Tyler believes that the biggest challenge anyone in this field faces is shifting human perspectives of reality from Newtonian physics to the quantum. Have you ever wondered what this place looks like without the indoctrination? Today, you get to peer behind the veil. Tyler hosts CE5 events and is working on an investigative series in quantum reality. At the Lost Channel CE5 Meditation Echo Retreat and Research Center, Tyler approaches reality from a frequency-based perspective rather than from a dimensional perspective. Dimension implies a spatial dimension, which is a thing, but Tyler sees that the larger version as light, which moves faster because it has more space to cover. And this is why our thoughts and creations are manifested quicker at higher frequencies, and why it's slower and denser down here. The way he sees it, all of reality is coded fractally, and it is constantly unfolding into larger versions of itself. I'm really looking forward to learning more about reality without the indoctrination. All of the links are featured below. Thanks for liking, commenting, subscribing, and please do share my content with your friends. And I'm happy to announce that YouTube channel memberships are now available, so you can receive my perks and help to support my channel. So now, without further ado, we'll bring on Tyler. Tyler, welcome to Aliens and Angels. So nice of you to be here. I'm really excited about having you on as guest.
Hi, Karen. Nice to meet you. Finally, that was beautiful. I don't have to do anything. You've done it all. You've said it all. That's it. We're done.
I don't know.
You just put it together so perfectly, and I think we're done. That's it. Wrap it up.
Actually, we're just getting started because we can go deep down these rabbit holes. So I think I'm just going to quickly say hi to Denise. Denise is here with us today, and I want to say hello to Tony Ann. Nice to see you too, and just thrilled to bits. We have some people in the live chat. They'll probably offer us some comments and some questions as we go. So first of all, Tyler, have I left anything out, and how did you get started in all of this?
Okay. It's kind of a crazy story. So I was a police officer for 13 years in Ontario. Left for medical reasons, not returning. I wasn't looking to get into any of this stuff whatsoever, but I learned one of the first things I did after leaving policing was learn how to meditate. It's very important for any police officer to learn this process, I think, now that I know what it is and how it functions. But this was recommended to me, and it's something that I just kind of dove into. I didn't really even think meditation was a real thing. I didn't get it. I didn't understand it. It wasn't for me. But learning to meditate kind of led me into where we are now. So, learned to meditate. And I was just curious about UFOs. I'd seen a UFO as a kid. I didn't know if there'd been any development. I didn't know if there'd been any crashes or anything since Roswell. Never heard any of that stuff. Well, that story has gone way farther than I had believed, with the Disclosure Project and the UAP legislation and what it all means. I don't know if you've discussed that on your show yet or not. From like the legal side of it. That led into learning about this CE5, this meditation process by Dr. Greer and the Disclosure Project, those guys. It was so far out of what I believed was possible because I only understood reality from a I know now, a Newtonian perspective, physical things, interacting with physical things. That was the only, as far as I understood how it functioned. So I had no basis to even understand what a UFO was to begin with, which I could realize now. Yeah, just a science kid. I liked physics and started looking at quantum physics after looking into the CE5 stuff because it doesn't make any sense from a Newtonian perspective. How can a group of people get together, just share some thoughts, and then a UFO will show up? That makes no sense to me at all. I didn't understand how that was possible. I didn't understand that thoughts are things and are actually a part of our reality, not just the side effect of some circuits going off in your brain goo, which is there's actually no foundation to believe that model at all anymore. It's been debunked as far as I'm concerned, as far as many intelligent people are concerned. But that's the model that we teach in our schools and in our medical system is based on Newtonian physical science, and it doesn't involve the quantum stuff. And that's why there's still millions of people dying because it requires a foundation of basic quantum physics to understand how all this new technology is going to work. And that's what they don't want us to understand is how reality looks from a larger perspective. And I didn't realize that UFO suppression information was because of this larger picture of what reality looks like. And I guess I'll talk about today. I'm going to sideswipe this.
Yeah.
So yeah, then we just started looking into. I'll tell you what we're doing with Lost Channel first. So as soon as we realized that it all has to do with quantum physics and what reality looks like without the Newtonian perspective that we all learned in high school in Canada, it looks a lot different, right? So we're going to talk about that. Okay, we should start just at the bottom, I guess, right? So we zoom in on a human being. You're made of cells. Well, a cell is defined as a liquid crystal semiconductor with ports and channels, and that's the same definition of a microchip. So there's that. We'll get into that later. But if you zoom in on a cell, it's made of atoms. And we were kind of taught atoms are little tiny physical things flying around, and they're just really small. But it doesn't really look like that. It looks like an atom is more like a singularity vortex of probability and information that just is a vortex tornado of probability. And not only does it exist here, it exists on the other side of the universe as well at the same time. That's quantum superposition bits of it. Everything is everywhere all at once. And where are we going?
Oops. You disappeared. I hope you're coming back. You can just re-log in if for some reason it kicked you off, Tyler, please do come back. In the meantime, I'm just going to tell everybody that I feel that basically we're not given, because of the education system, we're not given concepts where we can understand this type of reality. And we're certainly not given language so we could talk about it. So in my book and in my shows, I often will talk about dimensions and other dimensional realities. But what I actually learned from Tyler is that it's actually frequency based. And like I said in the introduction, the difference is a dimension implies a thing, a physical thing, whereas it's actually all boils down to just frequency. Just going to check my phone and see if I have any messages from him. Just going to let him know he can log back in when he is ready. Yeah, so anyway, I've been talking to Tyler quite a bit on, oh, there you are, you're back. Okay, great. I've been talking to Tyler quite a bit on Messenger. And so he's helped me gain the concepts and the language to more accurately talk about my own experience. I'm just going to bring him back on the stage. Yeah, you got kicked off for
Apologize
a
for
few
that.
minutes. No, it's all good. I just filled people in on how you helped me to develop the concepts and the language to talk about my own experience, because in the school system and in our education systems, we're not given room for the concepts or the language. So it's very
Yes,
hard for us to
exactly.
accurately talk about these things. So, and that's another reason why I'm so excited to have you on the show. So I think where we left off was you were talking about the structure of cells, and then the structure of atoms. And we've traditionally come to see them as being like little solar systems, but they're not. They're more like what I would call, um, um, oh gosh, I can't think of the word, it'll come to me. But basic toroidal field. They're actually
Yeah,
more like toroidal fields, and they're in
the
and
donut.
out of. Yes, a donut. And it's interesting. We have toroidal fields. Our planet has a toroidal field. Everything is toroidal fields. And I think that's where you're going to go with
It's
this
it's like
on.
Oprah. Everything's a toroidal field.
It is, and I think that's where you're going to go a little bit somewhere in here. But anyway, I should shut up and let you talk. So basically, you were talking about superposition and how the components of atoms are actually here, there, nowhere, and everywhere. And so I think that's where you left off. If you want to pick up.
Yeah, there's a whole list. I mean, you can go into it and talk about it forever because it's literally the foundation of reality and what it looks like. But there's a few points here. I'll just pull my list up and go through some of it. So so yeah, we're talking about the atom, right? It's more like there's nothing really there. There's no physical part to it. It is just energy. It is just a probability of information. Everything here is energy, and energy can be defined as light carrying information. So that's all there is. There's not actually anything. If you look at an atom and the space between it, the parts of it is basically like it's totally empty. It's like less than 1% things, 99% no things. And that's so you are made of 99% no things. If you took all the actual things of human beings, you could fit it into like a cup or something. And this is part of the holographic principle that we're not really taught in school because it's quantum. And we've been cut off from quantum from the start in our implementation of our society, right? It's a control thing against us, unfortunately.
Mhm.
But so yeah, you're just a probability of information. You're literally, this is the holographic stuff, and this is where it gets weird. And this is the stuff I had no idea. But like, if you had one word that you could call a human being, it's a hologram.
Mhm.
But our whole universe is holographic, and we're not really talking about the fact that we're probably in a computer simulation of some kind made by some extremely powerful Wizard of Oz somewhere that has created our whole understanding, our whole universe. And that
Yeah.
this whole universe is probably in another thing's universe and another thing, like forever. It's like nested simulated reality that we have no idea who built it, never will. We have no concept of an actual physical original reality, which I thought I lived in. Now I live in this other
Mhm.
place. And but that's not what we're teaching in our school. We're teaching information from the 1700s or Newtonian, wherever Isaac Newton was from, 17 something. But
Mhm.
it's just ridiculously out of date. They're giving us the concept that it's impossible to teach, but there's people doing it, and you could teach your children the basic principles of it. But
Yeah.
that's not what we're doing, and so that's why we're having a lot of weird things going on with people seeing UFOs coming into the sky out of reality, just phasing in and out of reality, or people seeing Bigfoot and then Bigfoot just turns into light or sphere or a geometric form and goes off into the forest. Like these things are happening to Canadians and they're not being taken seriously, but there's many of them reporting this stuff, and or there's
Mhm.
been families with historical Sasquatch contact or orbs showing up, but there's all kinds of things going on. And where I am in the world, I was totally frowned upon. You weren't able to talk about this stuff, and there's a lot more talking going on now than there ever has been. But there's still no. We have these weird interfrequential quirks of our reality that we have no means to address within the system of within the control paradigm we are currently under. They don't acknowledge that at all. That's
Mhm.
where, like, like the Men in Black and the spooks and the those guys come in. But so at the Lost Channel, we've been talking to people that have had these interfrequential, crazy, wild experiences, and depending on your level of understanding of reality from a quantum non-Newtonian perspective, is going to determine how you understand and experience and incorporate that experience into your life. If you
Mhm.
don't really understand it at all, it's going to be, oh, it's ghosts and whatever. But that's not
Mhm.
really what's going on here. There's been some things that have been regulated into schools of thought that all kind of have been built upon suppression of the quantum perspective of reality, which is that it's basically virtual.
Mhm. Mhm. I actually fully subscribe to the simulation theory. Now, that doesn't mean that there isn't real life consequences. I think partly affected by our belief systems, and also I think there are some physical laws. Like if I fall off a cliff, I'll probably hurt myself. Um,
Oh, of course.
there is that. But what I love about what you're saying and why it resonates with me is I also have from watching experiments like the double slit experiment and how the observer affects the simulation.
Yeah.
And what that means is we're way more powerful than we think we are. We don't have to be afraid of political bodies or so-called elites. I call them the parasite class. We don't have to be afraid. Instead, we can start exercising our own sovereignty and our own power. And what I also love about it is it means that those of us that are having these weird experiences, we're not nuts, we're not crazy. We couldn't all be having the same delusion anyway. And so I find it
So,
extremely liberating.
what the funny part is, from a quantum perspective, we're all one thing. We're all a consciousness. All reality is consciousness thinking itself into form. Thought, the speed
Mhm.
of thought precedes the speed of light by a large margin. So thought precedes form. We as a collective consciousness are um, co-creating this reality into existence with our thoughts, not even knowing it. And this is where, like,
Mhm.
the Illuminati guys come in, and they say, no,
Mhm.
no, no, you can't know this.
Mhm.
Only us can know this. So know these things and have this reality that we like. And
Mhm.
that's what we're under right now, and we always have been. And people are learning this and are starting to awaken, as they say.
Mhm. You mentioned that it all sort of starts with meditation. And Denise has asked, "Can you give me some help in meditating?" I'm guessing she means some tips. She has a very hard time with it. I used to have a hard time with it too until I learned how to do. I think it's Jeff Braden who teaches heart. heart heart brain cohesion, where you get to
Yeah,
focus on something. So I can focus on my heart, my breathing. I found that really helped me to get
exactly.
started. But what advice do you have for Denise? Some tips to help her get started
So,
and
so
other
the
people
basic
out
way
there?
I look at it now is your consciousness, your brain is not the source of your consciousness. Reality is the source of the consciousness, the ether, the field, the force, whatever you want to call it, the source. But your consciousness, the thing that makes you awake, is not produced within your brain. Your brain makes your ego, which is your human being's personality, that it's created based on a lifetime of subconscious programming. Um, you're entering this world. Everything you do within this world is programming your subconscious, which creates your personality, your ego. But you
Mhm,
can learn to turn that part off, and then that other bigger part basically starts coming in. How you do that? There's a million other ways to do it. It's you just got to find something that works for you. Some common things are, just the easiest way is just to focus on your breath. Literally, it just takes time and effort. It's not something you're going to do in 10 minutes, but you can do it for 10 minutes every day, or 20 minutes, however long you can do it, and just keep doing it. But so basically, I think the easiest thing to do is just find a place where you're relaxed. Um, Close your eyes, and then just focus on your breath for as long as you can. As literally, if you want to dumb it down to one thing, just close your eyes and keep your attention on your breath.
mhm,
Um, the longer you do that, um, the more information you're going to flow into, because your breath is not just air, it's literally the multi-dimensional source of how you move information through different, like, we're not just little beings on this planet, we are literally macroscopic giant versions creating this reality, and we can get into that later. But so when you breathe, you're moving all that information through all dimensions, and it's much bigger than the information you're breathing into your lungs right here. um,
mhm,
so just keep focusing on your breath. When you have a thought, just breathe that out on your next breath, and you just keep doing that. If you have a thought, oh god, the dog farted, breathe it out. Whatever.
mhm,
Oh, kids are screaming. Whatever. Just breathe that out next time, and then just keep doing that. You can get into all kinds of. There's a million and one different great meditations online, like
mhm,
YouTube
mhm.
guides, or the Monroe Institute. If you want to do that, that's like CIA boot camp. Learn how to talk to interdimensional beings 101. That's uh that's like the entry point CIA stuff. But there's a
Mhm.
million and one different ways to do it. But the easiest way is just understanding that you are trying to just cut that ego brain off for a minute and just see what happens. Because when you start doing that, crazy stuff happens.
Mhm. I also find that, meditating, it's like exercising a muscle. The more you do it, the longer you can
Exactly.
sustain that altered state. And then, I also, recommend in my book that people use that in order to start to receive the telepathic, transmissions that come in from all manner of different beings and entities and different
Yes.
frequencies, and it gets pretty exciting.
And
I wanted to sorry, go ahead. What did you wanna say about it?
I was just saying that's where we are crossing paths, because that's what I'm experiencing now when I'm out doing walking meditations. That's what I like to do the most. So that's what I spend a lot of my time doing. But
Mhm.
But once you learn to do that in meditation with your eyes closed, and you do that a lot, then you can kind of bring it into your life while you're awake too. And then there's other levels to this, and then this is what the transcendental is. You just keep going down. It's like a rabbit hole, literally.
Yep.
And you become more aware. You gain access to greater aspects of this hologram, creating this image we're experiencing right now. So that
Mhm.
so that's where we're crossing paths, and that's why I'm so interested in talking to people like you, because you understand that you are part of the universe, and these are just other parts of the universe talking to you as
Yeah.
everything. and it's a totally natural thing that's possible. We've just been our planet is basically in a state of psychosis because
Yeah,
we don't understand reality on
yeah,
math. It's been that perspective, deeper perspective, the 99% of reality is not permitted to us for us to have.
yeah.
We've been focused on the 1%, the Newtonian, and we built our whole civilization on it, and it doesn't even make sense. It doesn't hold up anymore.
No, no, and it disempowers us and makes us vulnerable, and on it goes. I'm wondering if I can pivot slightly here and
Yeah,
take a look at the intersection point between science, quantum physics, and spirituality. So I myself used to be a religious person, and then I got to the point where I just couldn't do it anymore. No disrespect to people who have religion out there, but for me, it wasn't doing it for me anymore. And then the more I learned about the papacy and how Christian religions evolved, and then again getting back to us being stuck in Newtonian physics, I think that's totally tied in to the educational system, which comes out of the religious system. Sorry, I'm trying not to get on a tangent here,
yeah,
but
I understand. I totally understand.
my understanding is that universal consciousness, which all beings that I have interfaced with or interacted with, all are aware of, that could be translated into Holy Spirit. And I'm wondering if you have any thoughts about that.
Exactly. You know what? I'm the total opposite. I grew up. I didn't have anything to do with religion. I was what I would have considered myself an atheist until just a few years ago, I suppose. Not that I converted to anything, but I just started understanding reality better. We're never like I knew it from a Newtonian perspective. Newtonian, I was just contained consciousness within a biological being on a floating rock. But that's literally like 1% of the story. It's not. It's more like we are a holographic like reality projecting this physical image into creation and temporarily forgetting that that's what we're doing. I didn't realize any of that information. So yeah, so exactly. The Holy Spirit. I don't know. I don't know the religious terminologies and stuff and what people use, but yeah, it's a three-part system, right? There's the source, um, there's the physical, and then there's the connection between that, which is makes the triangle. Um, and that's the system. It's like it's like hardware, um, and your software, and there's a Wi-Fi signal between it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so, but that's what 0 point. That's why all this 0 point energy has been hidden, is because it's basically a source of our existence. At one point, your atom is atoms are basically, now they know, they're like black holes. Every single atom is basically a mini black hole. Your body is energetically is the same structure where we're talking about the torus field, the toroidal energy structure, the donut. That's why the apple was the forbidden fruit. It's the same thing, right? Now we
Mm-hmm.
have the donut. It's a little bit of a better representation. Um, that's funny. But yeah, exactly. It's
Yeah.
sorry.
No, go ahead. Go ahead. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, yeah. So where were we going with this, Karen? What was the question? I've lost my train of thought now.
Um, we were where we were going with this was my understanding of Holy Spirit, which is interesting. A lot of people
Oh
believe in
yeah,
it,
the
but
Holy Spirit.
they don't actually engage with it as a creative force that they can work with.
So
I think a
yeah,
lot
so
of that. Yeah, go ahead.
the way I see it now is, we still think there's separation between us, but there's something that flows through us, right? The
Yeah,
force,
yeah,
the ether. That we
yes,
used to call it the ether. Then we got rid of that, put that away. Um, Made up a whole bunch of reasons why it didn't work, and then we said, "Oh crap, we got to bring the ether back in, or nothing works." So that's where we are now.
yeah,
Um, but that's exactly what you're talking about. Is this force that connects us all? But really, I think it's more like well, we're not actually a separate thing. We're all just this one thing, perceiving it, that thing from different perspectives. We're all one thing.
Mhm.
At a, if you zoom into an atom, it's just energy, and that energy is spread throughout the galaxy or whatever, however you want to imagine it. But there's no actual separation between us. It's all just a quantum soup of energy. We're floating in and seeing it from different perspectives.
Mhm, mhm. Yes, I think that's very good way to look at it because it allows the flexibility of being able to put away belief systems. So I put away belief systems because I need working theories. That way, when I get more information, like for instance, when I started communicating, texting with you on Messenger, I got more information. I can easily adopt or adapt, to the new information instead of being stuck in rigid places of belief systems. So, yeah. Now I want to get a little bit into my own transdimensional experiences and how you see that as being not only possible but even logical. First, I want to take a very brief um, um, moment and just play for those that are watching this or listening who aren't familiar with my book. I'd like to play a very short promotion, it's less than 2 minutes. Then we'll come back and pick up where we left off. So I'll
Sure.
just be right back.
Cool.
Learn the stunning details about ET diversity and culture, along with their advanced ways of living and expressing spirituality, which is in no way like anything imagined here on Earth. Transdimensional, Meet the New Neighbors, introduces you to many different ET beings, the healing pods, the interior of the big ship, my orientation process, cultural events, and off-world mating practices. In my contact experience, I learned a great deal about the big ship, intergalactic and transdimensional travel, intergalactic planetary research, and the various options for resettlement. Once I published my first book, I felt the need to create a second book called Transdimensional 2, Meet the Greys Picture Book. I worked with AI to develop many images of beings that we have come to know of as the Greys. These beings come from many places, realms, dimensions, and timelines, and although they are of the same species as other humanoids, they are from many different family lines and races. What qualifies them as greys is that their skin does not contain the pigment necessary to reflect light in our visible range of the color spectrum, so to us, they all appear to be various shades of gray. Beyond this physical attribute, there is much diversity in their origins, cultures, purposes, and physiological details. My goal is to get you used to the looks of beings which are different than humans in order to reduce your fear and increase your familiarity so you will remain more rational and grounded once the ET presence escalates beyond debate. Enjoy these images and notice the things we have in common so you will see that although they are different from us in appearance, we are essentially many family lines within one species. Paperback and Kindle versions of both books are now available on Amazon worldwide. Search the Amazon and Kindle bookstores and pick up your copies today. And we're back. So, Tyler, for me, what happened was, and this is back when I knew very little about quantum physics. I just was going to bed at night, falling asleep, and then I was having these amazing experiences. And I knew they weren't dreams because my dreams are very disjointed. They don't make sense. They're symbolic. There doesn't seem to be a beginning or an end. But these experiences I was having, and as I've described in my book, were very cohesive. When I would wake up in the morning, it was like I was no longer there, I was here. And I would go through my day and then go to sleep and I'd be there again. And it was kind of like two realities, so real. It was like it got basically it was very hard on my mental health because I didn't understand what was going on, but also it was
Absolutely.
so
And there's who's
real. And
and who,
I picked up every night where I left off that morning. It was like how can you explain my experience? I know it's frequency related, but can you make sense of it?
And then how did that reality compare to like your experience of reality here? Which one was your preferred reality if you had to pick? And all these questions that you're not supposed to talk about it. Who can you talk to about that stuff? Because the healthcare system in Canada is based on Newtonian. It's 1% reality. It makes no sense, and that's just why people are still dying in millions because we just don't want to know about it.
Yeah.
Don't look there. You're not holograms. Nothing to see. Don't look. But
Mhm.
yeah, exactly.
So I was
So
able to just act like it wasn't even a conscious effort. It wasn't like I was doing a
so did it
CT5.
did it st- when did it start for you as an adult? Was there some event or was there some change in your perspective that triggered this process happening, or how did
Well,
that play out for you?
interestingly, I have had paranormal experiences all my life, but I was brainwashed, and also I have what I will call internal oppression, where I would gaslight myself into
Hmm.
thinking that a lot of this was craziness, that I was crazy. My parents would say, "Don't talk about this. People are gonna think you're crazy." So then I went to religion, and religion basically said if I did this, I was evil. So I had my choice between being evil or being crazy. And so I suppressed it very, very much. But then after I left religion, then I actually had an angelic visitation. That was my first experience. That just happened one time. It just
Well,
happened. And then it was a few years later that I had the ET experience. Now, the only thing that I could point out, which is interesting, you and I've talked a little bit about this before, is I had been using cannabis for medical purposes, for pain and for sleep and different things like that. And I actually got a part-time job, and there was a rumor that they were going to test us, urine test us for drugs.
okay.
And I was afraid I really
Huh.
needed the job. And so I actually stopped using cannabis completely and very abruptly. And then, boom, this happened. And it went on for 3 months. And then it ended. And I'm glad it ended, not because I didn't like the experience. I loved it. I liked it better there than here for sure. But my head was so full because it was a time dilation. So while I was there, I would
Right.
experience what seemed like weeks, even months of experiences, wake up in my bed the next morning, and only one night had passed. And I got to tell you, pardon my language, but it was a real mind fuck.
Oh,
And it took me a long time. I would wander around my apartment with a cup of tea, wondering what the hell just happened to me. I couldn't talk to people about it. I completely dissolved my social um, reality. I just stayed home and was trying to unpack what I had been through. And then after 3 months, it abruptly stopped. And it literally has taken me years to process and get to the point where I could actually start documenting it, and then wrote my book.
yeah, absolutely. I can't imagine how that must have been for you as just a normal person, and then oh, look at this. Do you struggle to do you recall all the events at once, or is it like you get flashes of the events as the day unfolds, or how does that kind of work for you?
Well, I didn't have all of my memories in the beginning. In the beginning, I was in a state of shock and overwhelm and wondering if I was, at first, I thought I was dreaming, then I thought I was crazy. But I didn't want to go to the mental health system here in Canada. They'll just give you pills, and the
Yeah.
pills I had actually had tried the pills in years previous because of my paranormal experiences, and I found that they actually did indeed shut down my paranormal perceptions. And I really knew this was important. Like because I knew like I had no ego about it. I knew I wasn't an important person or divinely selected, none of that. Like I had no idea why I was having these experiences, but I knew it was really, really important. Then over time, I started to unpack it little by little. I started to remember more detail. And then in 2020, I have a contact. I know you're going to laugh when I tell you this. I have a contact who is in a spiritual state, but I can contact him through meditation. I call him Bob the Gray. I talk about him in my book too.
Yes, I remember
He's
Bob.
a really
Yes.
interesting character because like his station is like the angels, very similar to that. He's a very benevolent creature. He comes across as a gray. I see him in my mind's eye. He doesn't physically appear before me, and he is able to boost my own personal frequency so that I can have more remote viewing, astral projection, lucid dreaming
Oh, awesome.
experiences. But he also unlocked the memories when I was ready to start um, documenting my experience. So I can't claim the whole thing on my own. I have to give credit where credit's due. And so I don't know where I'd be without Bob the Gray. He's just incredible
So
wealth
so
of
this is so
inspiration.
this is so you're a perfect example of what or what the general public is learning now, is that what we're been calling extraterrestrials, aliens, whatever, they're not really a physical thing coming from another physical reality, or they could be, but there's a lot of other things going on as well. And now the government is calling them NHIs, non-human
Yeah,
intelligences, because it's an easier way of saying, oh, they're more like um, uh, the intelligences are part of the universe itself, and they're coming from higher frequencies of reality, the higher up
yeah,
frequency these beings come from. You know, the ones at the tippy top, they call them angels, and they'll just appear as balls of light. But then there's
mhm,
all kinds of different dimensions, because reality is a fractal holographic machine that's projecting this reality that we're experiencing right
yeah,
now into existence. This is basically reality is basically a 3D printer,
yeah.
and we're just running around in it.
Yeah,
Um,
I would agree. And what really illustrated that was like for the longest time, I couldn't figure out where the big ship was located, which is basically the platform that I would go to interact with other beings.
right.
And I couldn't figure out where was it? You know, where was it? Where was it? And then I understood quite spontaneously one day. I understood it's here, it's there, it's nowhere, it's everywhere. So if you look at a
Hmm.
Venn diagram, and a Venn diagram has overlapping pieces, and imagine it shaped like a daisy with like 100 petals. This is just a metaphor to help people understand and visualize it.
The
Each
lotus flower, right?
Yeah, exactly. And each petal is a different, what I would call, I know now it's frequency based, but a different dimensional reality, different timeline, a different position in the multiverse. Like
Yes.
it's very complex. And at the center where all these petals overlap, that is transdimensional, interdimensional reality. And that's where the big ship is. And it makes sense because then beings from all different walks of reality can immigrate or emigrate, come for teaching, training, or have experiences like what I've had.
So let's do some brainstorming here. So you're just describing we're talking about is that the atoms are um, everything is a singularity atom. So the center of it is you, is the earth, is the black hole to every other atom in existence. So is this something that you meditate on, or you just what would happen if you meditated on this idea that you've just given us here, this beautiful flower with a center that's to alternate realities? I bet that would be interesting.
I think quite literally, I can go down. Basically, it's like going down a rabbit hole of any petal I want at any time. And but I gotta say again, it is so real, Tyler. It's so real that it does kind of interfere with my experience here on Earth. And I believe I'm here in the 3D for soul development. And so it's a fine line. And also I am a great lover of the outdoors and what I call the natural reality, even though I think it's a construct, that supports us. It's so beautiful. I love to be outside in the sun and get to know the birds as they're out there squawking at each other. And I've got two beautiful cats, and I spend a lot of time, and I've got grandchildren. So I don't want to lose um, my footing here, because it's important that I also be here and develop
And it,
myself and
it,
my
it
character and become a better person, you know?
it's ironic because that's probably why you're having these experiences, because you're so grounded here because of who you are and how you've um, your perspective on life. You now are living a lifestyle where you are grounded. You're not thinking about anxiety or in the past, or sorry, anxiety is the future, or depression is the past. You're not thinking about either of those things. You're just in the moment in this reality, and that is the basis of good meditation. Is when you can get to that point, then you start going into a meditative state. You start separating yourself from the reality, and you let more information comes in. And autistic people, uh, depending on where they are on the spectrum, or neurodivergent, from what I understand, perceive reality as an information feedback system. Everything is talking to them at all times. You know, if you see a bird, it means this, but because they've developed these processes with the information they're perceiving, and when we look at it as a machine, that's pretty much how it works. We're just receiving codes of information from everything and creating a hologram in our brains, like, while experiencing a holographic reality, not knowing that those two things are happening.
Interesting you should mention that, because I am neurodivergent for sure. I'm on the spectrum. And it's interesting because what other people would consider really easy everyday life stuff is so difficult for me. And yet, stuff that other people have difficulty with, higher concepts are just, I just know, like I have a lot of spontaneous just knowing exactly how things work, and it's amazing. I also have experiences where I have trouble being around a lot of people because I am telepathic. So I don't run around saying, "Oh, I'm a psychic" or anything like that. But sometimes it's not my business to know what other people are thinking. And I got to tell you, what a lot of people are thinking is kind of scary, and like especially in Canada right now since the election, we won't get into that. But I'm
That,
I'm relatively unscathed by those things because I have a more important and a certainly more pleasurable reality.
that's incredible. So your energy is just so, because you're always grounded, you're always in these evolved, more advanced consciousness states. Like, we know now, consciousness is a scale. Like, it's a thing at every level. If you're in a sphere vibration, you are literally at a lower brainwave state. You experience reality different from these
Mhm.
people who are demonstrating love, and high conscious thoughts. They're controlling their thoughts. They're not thinking, "Oh, this guy's, you know what," or "Debbie, owes me $20." They're just thinking about love and how they can serve this reality. And those are the dudes that are having these interdimensional, interfrequential beings coming and checking them out. Um, have you had? So you have the stuff, when you get into your sleep meditations, or whatever you articulate it. Have you had stuff in 3D as well, or has there been a link there? Is there a link that you can make? Can you make agreements where they'll come and show up, or is there any? Have you had experiences in the 3D?
Not a lot, especially, and I have nothing against the use of cannabis. As I mentioned in my book, I think cannabis is a very important tool for helping people get into touch with their interdimensional selves, or I guess interfrequency is what you would call it. But I found that I definitely had more contact when I was using cannabis. So I've been off it for 2 years. And the reason I'm off it is because then my transdimensional nighttime experiences came back, and I love it so much. But during the day, I think a lot of it depends what I'm thinking of. So I have occasionally have what I would call, just because I don't have better language for it, overlays, where I have a reality that is created in my mind's eye that I actually can see at the same time as I'm looking out through my eyes. So I can look
Yes.
out on the at the room, but I have an overlay that's created in the portal of my imagination that appears to overlay it. And in using that, I'm able to see disembodied humans. And lately, what I've been seeing is, or I can close my eyes and I have this ability, I don't know how, to see the room without having my eyes open. And then when I
Yeah.
do
So
that,
you're
I'm seeing it in my imagination. Then I often see, lately, I've been seeing these 3 or 4 orbs. One of them is large, and the two smaller ones that are in the room with me. And I actually think it is the energy of my daughter and my 2 grandchildren, I think, that are with me. I know that sounds bizarre. I
no,
can't explain it, but
it's a
that are
thing.
they're actually here with me because we're so connected.
Yeah. So you're what it sounds like to me you're doing is you're a natural, talented remote viewer that's never been told maybe what this is or what you can do with it. I didn't know anything about remote viewing, but yeah, your consciousness is not doesn't necessarily have to be within your head. And this is what the remote viewer guys do is they basically move their consciousness or have the experience of moving their consciousness, and they can see anything through time and space. Through
Mhm,
time and space. Time is not
mhm,
even a real thing. They can see the future. And when you get a
mhm,
bunch of them together, they can basically predict it. But yeah, you are your reality, you are a thing that's being created. It's like a hologram, crystal hologram. There's lights filtering through, and you're this macro image, and then you get to micro, smaller images. But along the way, all those things are beings. They're all intelligent beings. Everything here that exists in this reality is intelligent energy. If it's here, it's an intelligent being.
mhm,
That's what people communicate with when they do like spirit guides or people that talk to God or source or whatever. But you
mhm,
can talk to the whole thing as the whole thing as God or Abraxas or source or whatever however you want to understand it. To me,
mhm.
it's like the AI interface of reality. Our reality is that AI, we are points of attention in a large language model learning from each other. And that's
Mhm,
what this is. And we are completely in control of it.
mhm. Yeah, I would agree. The other thing about it is that, sorry, I'm a little bit overwhelmed in my own head at the moment. Um,
We're talking about big things today,
we're
and
talking about big
we're
things.
going over a lot of information in a very short period of time.
Yeah, so the other thing I wanted to say is I didn't publish my book or talk about these things to go, "Hey, look at me, I'm special, I'm a psychic," or anything like that. I don't even use any of those labels. I don't use starseed, I don't
Yeah,
use
I know
anything.
that
I'm an
there's just a million
ordinary.
different perspectives of um, articulating and interpreting basically the same
Yeah.
phenomenon.
And I just want people to know that if I can do it, they can do it too. Because
Yes,
I don't think I'm anybody special. I think we all have these gifts. And if you can just believe or wrap your head around it and just give it a try, and that's why I think it's so important what you're doing with the CE5 movement. And I don't know if you want to talk a little bit about what you're doing with that. It's so important because it's opening up people's minds and they're becoming more of
it's
who they
blowing my
really
freaking
are.
it's blowing my mind every day just talking to people like you and what reality really is and what's possible. It's blowing my freaking mind. So I'll tell you what we've done so far. So, um, reality is a thing that you can control. There are rules for being here. I'm calling them simulation mechanics.
Mhm,
Um, how electromagnetic beings navigate an electromagnetic reality. These hermetic principles and all these things that people talk about in these esoteric schools. They're all the same thing. It's all trying to describe
mhm,
how to navigate this reality.
mhm,
Um, So we made it our intention to have experience interfrequential phenomenon, essentially. So that was the first thing we did, to set the intention. Well, we don't really know what we want to see, but we just want to know, we know there's some weird stuff going on. Let's see what we can do. So make it your intention to experience an interfrequential phenomenon. Freaking UFOs started showing up. Balls of after the first time I did the CE5 meditation, started seeing this pewter, and I did it one time by myself. These balls, pewters, like a giant, it's a ball about the size of a car, but like dark pewter metal floating right over my house. I saw the same thing in a plane, and then I thought I was losing my freaking mind because I only did this thing once. I didn't know if I really believed in it, but here we are. This freaking thing showing up.
Mhm.
So first I thought I was just losing my fucking mind. Pardon my French. So then I knew something was up. Found a group, local group, did it there. Balls of light showed up, what people call plasmoids, orbs, or whatever. But I now, from what I understand, is that every being here is just intelligent energy. The more you go up this line of intelligent energy, the more control over the environment you have. So, like Sasquatch and aliens are basically interfrequential shapeshifters. They can project themselves into this reality and appear as physical as we do, or as like holograms or balls of light, or geometric forms. I've done that thing where I've lost my train of thought here. So I seen. I didn't really mention this. I was a police officer for 13 years. I was a serious investigator. I've done hundreds of criminal investigations. So I didn't really believe any of this stuff. But here I am now, freaking balls of metal flying overhead.
Mhm.
And so we kept experimenting with the C5 stuff, and met a local Sasquatch researcher in Ontario. We've been chatting, and he's been filling me in on kind of some of the more interfrequential nature of Sasquatch and these guys and how they function. So me and this gentleman, Mike Patterson, previous October, we did a CE5 at the cabin. We've been up a couple times, and I've seen orbs show up, but never a craft, never like a physical thing. We did it this time, and we saw this light coming overhead. Well, first we saw these orange spheres off in one direction, so we set up a telescope to look at that. And as we're setting this telescope up, this ball of light comes in from the south over the cabin, and it looks like the orbs I'd seen before. And I was like, oh, that was clearly something. It was coming right overhead, and as we were looking up at it, the tail portion of it illuminated. It went, whoa! It just filled in like a flowing liquid light, and it was the shape of a cigar. It was about the size of a airplane, like a jumbo jet or bigger, maybe twice the size. But it was right overhead. We could tell the shape of it because it was dimly illuminated, like it had underlighting, and then it showed us what it could do with this light. And then it continued north, and then it just kind of parked in the sky. It looked like a star for, I don't know, an hour, and then we were freezing our butts off and went inside to warm up. So I don't know. And since then, literally, I haven't done it that much because I know how serious it is. I know how much it works. And so now I have some events planned for the summer, but I'm doing it with groups of people here in Ontario, and seeing where we're going with that. This month, I'm teaming up with Judy Sackney at the Judy Sackney presents Bigfoot Will Heal Us presentation in Toronto. It's really cool group of people that are really talking about the reality of Sasquatch and how how the old big ape theory is gone. That's not even in the serious discussion anymore.
Mhm. Wonderful, wonderful. So, we're almost out of time. I'm really enjoying this conversation. I'm hoping you'll come back
Yeah,
and
anytime.
we can get into more of this because I mean we've barely tipped the beginning and the
Yeah,
top
yeah.
surface of the whole
We
issue.
could talk for hours.
I don't have the date in front of me, but you and I are scheduled to be on the Forbidden Knowledge News
Cool.
channel with Chris Matthew coming up in a few weeks. I'll be in touch with you about that. But do you want to spend a couple of minutes with any last minute things that you didn't have a chance to say that you want to tell the audience, and also where people can find you? Because some people will be watching this on video, but some will be listening on an audio only platform. And it's good to remind them of where they can find you if you want to give the actual, I don't know, Facebook group or whatever,
Gotcha.
how you want people to contact you. That'd be great.
Gotcha. So right now we're on on Facebook, a Lost Channel CE5 Meditation Eco Retreat and Research Center. That's primarily where I talk to people, and this is why I'm doing this, to reach out to Canadians and anyone else who wants to talk to me around the world. But we have these people are having these weird experiences that don't make any sense from Newtonian information. And I know of myself, as a police officer, if somebody would have came and told me this information, I would have said, can we get you to see a doctor right away? But
Yeah.
that's not really necessarily how we should be treating these people anymore, because turns out we just haven't been given the right information. So if there's anybody that has had these weird experiences, they want to make sense of it. I don't know everything, but I'm trying my best to try and make some sense out of these experiences. And I know I dress very silly, but I do take that aspect of it seriously. I'm just doing this because I've spent too long taking life seriously. I'm just trying to have a bit of fun now doing this.
Mhm. Mhm.
Um, so if there's anybody that wants to have any questions on CE5, the process of it, it's really simple. I looked into it and I thought it was going to be, I thought it had to become super complex and you have to do all these things and have these certain rituals and do. I don't think it's that complicated. I think you need to have a group of people with an intention to make contact with an interfrequential intelligence, or however you want to call it, interdimensional intelligence, and have a good intention for doing so. And I think those people will have it, because from what I found out from talking to groups in Canada is, if you go out 5 or 6 times, you're going to have an experience, and it's literally that freaking simple.
Mhm.
People that can get into expanded awareness states of expanded awareness meditation states are good to have, because some of them can open themselves up to communication, and then they'll make agreements to have a freaking UFO come in, and that stuff's actually going on. So that's really cool if you can find those people. But there's groups everywhere. You just got to find one or make one if you can't find your own. That's what I'm
Mhm.
trying to do. Um,
Mhm.
so for over the Lost Channel, we have some C5s planned, and what I've so now I've experienced these orbs. I've witnessed interfrequential intelligence. I've witnessed a physical craft entering 3D. Oh, I've also experienced what I haven't mentioned yet. Um, is when I was with Mr. Patterson, the Sasquatch researcher. Something tugged on my clothing when I was doing expanded awareness. It tugged on my left pant leg, and then I was like, okay, I thought it was the guy I was with. It's like, nope, he's over there. And then in expanded awareness, I had this thought of, oh, okay, well, you know, it must have been the wind or something. And then clearly on my other pant leg, something went tug, tug. And I was like, holy crap. So that was the part that blew my freaking mind, is that there's no borders or anything. That borders are an illusion. They can just pop into reality at any point in time, as physical, as energy, as whatever is possible is possible. I mean, there's so many things that I never thought were possible, but the rule books go out the window when we're talking about this stuff, because it's not based in Newtonian physics. So anybody that wants to reach out to me, has any questions, or you want to tell me your story, I'd love to hear it. I'm learning from you. I'm learning from people. That's why I can talk about this stuff. And so if you want to help out, please. And then we're doing this show, the Ex Copernicus show. I'm just using this as like a little hub to talk to people, and no plans for it to go. I haven't even put anything on YouTube yet. I'm just using it to talk to people like you. And so I'm on
Wonderful.
Facebook, the Lost Channel, C5 Meditation Eco Retreat, on the Ex Copernicus show on TikTok, YouTube.
Wonderful. I've got some links below in the description for everybody too. So
Yeah, I can throw a
yeah.
link in there too or something.
So I want to
Was there
encourage
any questions?
people to go over and subscribe to your channel, and because there will be stuff popping up pretty soon, as
Yeah,
my feeling.
come see me on the Facebook group. I don't want to manage
Yeah,
a million things. I like talking on there. It's the easy way for me to talk
yeah.
to people.
Yeah, wonderful. So I really appreciate you making the time to come on the show today. Thank you so much. And like I said, I hope you'll come back. I want to thank the viewers and the listeners for all of your support and for being here with us. Please share this with your friends. It's super interesting topic. And we'll see you on Wednesday for the Quantum Guide Show and next week for aliens and angels. So I guess that's it for the show, and we'll say bye-bye. Bye-bye,
Thanks, Karen.
everybody.
Talk soon. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thank you for joining me for the Aliens and Angels podcast. Read about my true life ET contact in my book called Transdimensional Meet the New Neighbors, which is now available on Amazon worldwide. Subscribe to my YouTube, Rumble, and X channels at Karen Holton TV. The like button and leave me a comment. And please do share this podcast with your friends. Check out my website at www.karenholtonhealthcoach.com to see my free resources and amazing products and services. All of the links will be in the description below. As part of the Forbidden Knowledge Network, you will also find the Quantum Guide Show with Karen Holton on all audio platforms. Until next time, keep up the good work.